Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Hello there. Welcome into another edition of another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. And I'm being a homer today. I'm wearing a Gator sweatshirt, but it's Gator Golf from my friend JC Deacon, who has been a big sponsor of our golf tournament. We appreciate him so much. So I am allowed to do that now that I'm not writing for a newspaper. I'm allowed to wear Gator stuff in here. Yeah. I am what I am. The main thing is it's my most comfortable and warm sweatshirt. It's pretty cold out there today. For us here in Gainesville, Florida, it might have gotten low 40s. Terrible. No, we're good. We got a great show for you today. Roy Philpott's going to join us from ESPN and SEC Network does games. You've seen him a million times. He'll be fun. Look forward to talking to him. Of course, Monday, Coach Spurrier will join us, and then the following Friday, it'll be Mark Wise will join us. We'll get his take on Gator basketball there. I do want to, before I get to the hand law starting lineup, I'm having all kinds of problems with my Cameo, and I don't really do a lot of cameos. I did at the beginning when I first retired. So Joe, there's a guy named Joe who's turning 50, and he's going on a cruise. And Isaac and Tip wanted to tell you how much they love you and want you to have a great birthday, and you're UF graduate, and he was in the band too, so he had that going for him. So I'm just going to give you a free one because I can't figure out how to do what I've got now, and I may just get out of Cameo, so don't bother with it. But Joe, I don't want anybody to ever think, man, I requested a Cameo from Pat Dooley and I never got it. I would never do that. I've done a bunch of them, but anyway, Joe, this is your Cameo. I know because I know you listen to the podcast. So happy birthday. I'll sing it to him. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joe, if that's your real name. Happy birthday to you. All right. Let's move on to the Hand Law starting lineup. And as always, the starting lineup is presented by Hand Law, Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. We appreciate Hand Law and all their great stuff that they do for us. Hand Law. All right, number one on the Hand Law starting lineup. Florida has, during this week, kind of finalized this new Great Wall. Well, that's the name I know somebody's going to come up with. I came up with it, of course, first. I also named the Great Wall, I may want to say, back in 1984. But this is a new Great Wall, but only if you look at the sizes of these guys. We don't know what they can do. We don't know what they can do together. I'm a wait-and-see guy with offensive linemen, but sizes are unbelievable. They got three guys, including the last one, Keontae Goodwin, who is 6'6". Well, the average is 6'6", 340. That's a lot of dudes, and that's big guys. But just being big's not enough. Again, this goes back to something I talk about a lot. Either you trust your coach or you don't. Either you believe he evaluated these people the right way and they can fit into what he wants to do, or you don't. And I think most people should. I think he's put together a line when it looked like their offensive line was in bad shape. Now Cameron Waits tore his ACL, so he's probably done for the year. And that'll hurt them. They think he's going to be better. I know if you watch them in the Oregon State game, you're going, good riddance. No, that's not the case at all. They think he's going to turn into a good player. That was tough assignment for him. But that's a setback. But they still have a bunch of big guys, and getting a guy from Georgia, from Alabama, getting a guy from Baylor. I got to learn all the pronunciations of these names. And in the case of, I think it's Keontae Goodwin, maybe Keontae. Could be something else. I don't know. We got to get all these pronunciations, all the new guys coming in. So they've done good in the transfer portal, and people are excited. It's interesting to me, though. I looked this up today. 13 players who have left Florida and jumped in the transfer portal landed at Power 5 teams. Now, that tells you that they're good players and that teams are willing to take a chance on them, and they're hoping they realize this is their last shot. Because if you don't do it now, then you got to go and you got to sit out a year. Because remember, in late August, the NCAA president said, "Nah, we're not going to let you do it as many times as you want." I think I've been saying that, and I was wrong because I thought that was going to pass, and it had passed through the committee, but it didn't pass through the presidents. They didn't want that. And I agree with them. I think that's ridiculous, but to allow that to happen. But anyway, we'll see what happens. So obviously did good in the transfer portal. We'll see what kind of team. We've talked a lot this week on the radio show about what Florida's going to be next year, and you kind of go, it's just this little roller coaster. The truth is we have no idea. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. There's nobody there that gets you excited, right? There isn't. There are guys you think may be serviceable, but there's nobody there to get you excited. So we'll see what happens. I don't think it's over as far as who the quarterback might be next year. Anyway, that's number one on the hand-loss starting lineup. Number two was a basketball win Wednesday, and of course it goes down a notch because it was South Carolina. South Carolina, which somehow beat Kentucky in Rupp. I still can't believe that. And beat Clemson, the best team in the ACC so far this year. But you watched them play that game. They're terrible. They got one really good player, Gigi Jackson, who forces a lot of stuff because he feels like he's the only guy that can play. They're not good. So Florida's net ranking actually dropped 2 spots with a win. But that I knew that was going to happen. I even told them it's now down to 46. Look, let's see what happens these 4 games. These 4 games, Kansas State, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, 3 of them on the road. It's going to be rough. Get a win. If you get 2 wins, it's going to be huge for you. But they played well, and that was the best game they played, and a lot of it was because of who they were playing against. But Todd Golden, this was a good stat I saw from Chris Harry. 5-0 now against the other first-year coaches in the SEC. Don't forget the SEC changed up 6 coaches last year. Well, 1 because Mike White switched sides. And there was a joke there that I don't want to get into, but the bottom line is 6 new coaches. He's 5-0 against those new coaches. So you got that going for you. The main thing is they've won 5 out of 6 games. They're playing better. He hasn't been stubborn. He has changed what he wanted to do with his team, and he has made it work for him. Brilliant. I don't know why more coaches don't do that. They kind of stick with what they believe instead of, and they say, well, we'll worry about it getting better next year. Whereas Todd Golden's come in here and said, look, I wanted to do this, but I wanted to be a great rebounding team, but we're not even going to try to get offensive rebounds. We're just going to get back and guard. So I give him a lot of credit. Like I said, though, these 4 games are going to kind of define – I don't want to say define the season, but they're going to have a lot to do with the season. They're going to define where Florida goes the rest of the year. And you kind of want to put them in that kind of a box and tie it up in a nice ribbon. Number 3 on the hand-loss starting lineup, the SEC Big 12 challenges this week. It's always a fun Saturday. I love watching it. I think they should do more of this. I don't know why they don't. I get excited about it. I watch all the games. It feels like a college football Saturday, which is what you want it to feel like. I think they should do this all the time. It's going to be, the Kentucky-Kansas game. Can't wait to watch that. Obviously, Florida-Kansas State. There are a ton of games. And that's the great thing. This is a great idea. It seems like such a great idea. Why doesn't everybody do it all the time? Why do you do conference games? Or I don't know. Maybe they should do it in the preseason. Have a challenge, the SEC, ACC. I'd love to see that. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Number 4 on the hand-loss starting lineup, was Mel Kiper came out with his list of where he's projecting people to be drafted, and he had Anthony Richardson listed as number 9. Number 9? Number 9? To the Panthers, which I could see happening if it does happen. I mean, now what you're going to see, because Anthony Richardson has been very low key. I mean, I know he's working with the guy and all that, and you haven't heard much from him. This list comes out, and now you're going to get into what after the Super Bowl's over. You're going to get into where, all right, let's take this kid apart. And they did it with Tebow. They do it with everybody. And there'll be one group that all of a sudden goes, hey, this guy's better than we thought. And then another group will follow. It's kind of ridiculous. And sometimes I think, unfortunately, the people that make these decisions actually listen to some of this stuff. But don't worry about whether if he goes 9th, great. I'm happy for him. A lot of you may say, I can't believe he's going 9th. Did you see any of his games? Do you have cable where you live? Okay, you want to be that person? Be that person. I just hope it goes great for him. Remember this, the higher he's drafted, the better it looks for Florida. You go, well, no, it looks bad for Florida because they had a 9th pick in the draft and they could only won 6 games. No, that's not the case. If you analyze it and pay attention to what happened last year, he wasn't very good last year. They're drafting him on potential, and that's how talented he is. You can say that maybe they didn't get the most out of him. Maybe they didn't. Maybe there was a lot of things at work here. Nobody ever knows what's going on in the world anymore. That's the problem. That is number 4. And number 5, playoffs. The playoffs are this weekend, and I'm looking forward to them. It is going to be so exciting. I talked about this on the radio the other day. In pro sports, like I always say, you root for the laundry, and I think in college you do. In pro sports, I don't. A lot of people do. You root for the Eagles no matter who's on their team. You know, they could have Jeffrey Dahmer lining up at wide receiver. You go, hey, you know, he makes some good catches. But for me, for some reason in pro sports, I root for players more than I do for teams. So I am a Kansas City fan because I love Patrick Mahomes, but Kansas City doing the chop and everything, I have to turn the sound off. I don't like Kansas City. I don't like their colors. I don't like their team. I don't wear them. But I love Mahomes, and I'll be rooting. I'm nervous about that game because Joe Burrow's been so good. It's kind of the way I was with Shaq. But anyway, both games are going to be unbelievable. They're going to be tremendous games, and I can't wait for them, and I know everybody else can't wait for them. And then we'll be down to the Super Bowl, and that, believe it or not, is going to be your Leonardo's question today. So we'll take a break right now, and when we come back, Roy Philpott's going to join us. He'll talk about SEC basketball, SEC football, and his time at Clemson. All that and more on another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Duly Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Drip Co. To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam Drip Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Pat Dooley Storytime is brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little Gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of Eastlake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about Eastlake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
The games of the week and the games of the weekend every week are brought to you by the Ben Ige team at Odell Realty. Ben Ige graduated from the University of Florida in 1998. He and his team now help Gators find vacation homes in Western North Carolina that also double as investment properties. Ben and his team have helped many folks take advantage of the incredible opportunities in mountain homes that also produce amazing returns on investments. Ben Ige and his team at Odell Realty go the extra mile to find properties and evaluate their income potential for their clients. Maybe you've thought of buying a home that can be used as short-term rental via Airbnb or Vrbo, generate income for you, and be a place for your family to vacation. Or you may just be looking for a great way to expand your real estate investment portfolio. I know I am. Visit www.beneige.com/Gators. That's www.beneige.com/Gators and discover what owning your own short-term home can accomplish for you. That's Ben Ige at Odell Realty, licensed real estate broker in North Carolina and proud Gator alum. Visit www.beneige.com/Gators or call 704-201-4264.
Calling Gator Nation. You're invited to be part of Gator history on Friday, February 10th for the official dedication of Steve Spurrier Way at Celebration Point Promenade in front of Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Lots of dignitaries and press will be on hand to witness this historic event. And it's open to all who bleed orange and blue. It's the grand unveiling of Steve Spurrier Way. It's all happening Friday, February 10th from 5:30 to 6:15 at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point.
Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. And I would bet that our guest today has been to Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. If not, we'll buy him a beer in here sometime. Roy Philpott from ESPN, SEC Network, does a great job doing basketball games and, of course, football games and baseball games as well. It's busy time of the year for you, isn't it, Roy?
Yeah, it is. It is. The football basketball crossover, Pat, can be a little interesting sometimes. And then baseball season kicks up soon, and there's always just so many games, which in our business is a very good thing. So I don't ever complain about it. It's always great to be busy. And I have been to Spurrier's there many times. I want to say I ran into you there the last time I was there.
You might have,
I think we went with Mark Wise maybe a year or so ago, and I think we bumped into you. But yeah, I've been there a couple of times. It's great.
Yeah, it's great. We enjoy being here. Let's talk about what's going on in the SEC. And, it's felt, especially recently, like it's Alabama, and then there's down a little bit, and then there's Tennessee, then it's down a little bit, and then there's about 5 teams that you don't know what they're going to do, and about 3 more after that you don't know what, it's very competitive. And I know, Roy, when you watch, that when conference play starts, it's going to get way more physical. People are going to start pounding each other, and it's so much fun to watch because they say, let them play when we get into conference play.
Yeah, I mean, there's that element to it. I think the league this year, Pat, I think it's as talented as it's ever been. There's just not a lot of great shooters, and maybe that's a thing in college basketball. But I don't let that detract from the overall product. As you indicated, I mean, Alabama right now is a legitimate number 1 seed. We had their last game against Mississippi State, and, they didn't shoot the ball lights out, but they still won. And to me, I think if you're a fan of the Crimson Tide, that's encouraging. But they've got shooters. They've got Brandon Miller, a lottery pick. I think Noah Clowney could end up being a first-round draft pick. So they're talented, and they have Devon Quinterly coming off the bench. There's a lot of weapons there. Then, as you mentioned, right below Bama, I think, is Tennessee. And Tennessee probably matches up fairly well with Alabama in the way that it defends and its physical nature. And, boy, that's going to be a fantastic game coming up in the near future between those two. But Tennessee right now is also listed by our friend Joe Lenardi as a number 1 seed. So I think the league this year at the top has a chance to get at least 1, maybe 2 number 1 seeds. And so they've got 2 legitimate national champion candidates. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And you look at the teams that Tennessee and Bama have beaten this year. Alabama's come back against Houston. To me, is one of the best wins in America. Tennessee and what it did to Kansas and just really stifling the Jayhawks going back to December. Phenomenal. And then after that, who wants 3rd place? Is it Kentucky, who's won 4 in a row? Is it Texas A&M, who's looked as good as anybody outside of Tennessee and Alabama? Or is it Auburn, who Texas A&M just beat, earlier this week at Neville Arena down on the Plains? So there's some really good teams there, and some teams that, I don't think we really understand their true upside at this early point in the conference schedule.
Yeah, the team that I think a lot of people worry about is Kentucky because they always seem to do this. This team lost to South Carolina at Rupp. We saw South Carolina play here on Wednesday. It wasn't pretty. They're terrible. They got 1 great player, and that's it. It's kind of a weird year too, in that in terms of how many teams they get in. Let me ask you this, Roy, because you do football as well. Do you think the SEC is a better football or a basketball conference right now?
Oh wow! I mean, I still lean football just because you've got the back-to-back championships by Georgia. You kind of know what you're getting with Alabama. I think LSU's on an uptick. There's some changeover, obviously, at Auburn and with what Billy Napier is trying to do with Florida. But, I mean, just at the top, you're just not going to find a better league than the SEC. I thought we saw that again in the college football playoff. And between Georgia and Alabama's dynasty, it's hard to look past. I think in basketball, if a team like Bama or Tennessee broke through this year and reached the Final Four, then, it starts to become more of a conversation. I think that's kind of the next step for the league to see. You kind of know that Kentucky has been knocking on the door at times. We'll see what they're going to be about by the end of the season. But to see maybe somebody else get in there and do it, can Bama or Tennessee do it? I think that would ratchet it up a couple of notches in the national conversation. And again, I think people understand the resources that have been poured into the facilities in the league have never been better. The coaching, in my opinion, Pat, has never been better. The recruiting has never been better. I mean, if you talk to Paul Biancardi, and he gives me updates all the time on where his ESPN top 100 players are going. For the most part, they're going to the SEC and the ACC, and the SEC's kind of surpassed the Atlantic Coast Conference there the last couple of years. So it's trending in the right direction. I think the next step is getting some different teams into the Final Four and winning championships there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you got to do. I mean, obviously, Florida's the last team to repeat. We know that.
Yep.
I think Kentucky's the only one to win it since then. from the SEC. But it is. I wanted to ask you about Florida, both in basketball and football, because I mean, you're around a lot this conference all the time, and you see a lot of things that are going on. You have a finger on the pulse in the national media. There's been some ups and downs, to say the least, and we'll start first with the whole Jaden Rashada thing, and that's the last time I'm going to say his name. Okay, that's going to do it for the podcast, but. I think there's so much bad information out there right now that nobody really knows what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you will see, and I think that other situations like that have occurred in the NIL realm. Just, they haven't been as publicized and the numbers weren't as great in those situations. So I think all of that's in play. I'll say this, with Rashada, it wasn't a great situation. It wasn't great in terms of PR. But in terms of Florida and Billy Napier, I know Coach Napier going back all the way to 2008, 2007. I remember seeing him in 2003 when he was a graduate assistant at Clemson, and he was recruiting Cullen Harper and went to see one of his games at Sequoia High School there in North Georgia. So, I mean, I've known Billy Napier. I haven't talked to him recently, but I know his background. I know his football IQ. I know his attention to detail. And I know what a great hire that was for Florida. I recognize the ups and downs of last year. You beat Utah, you get upset, some other teams along the way. Didn't have the kind of season you wanted to. But Florida needed help in facilities before he arrived. Florida needed help in personnel in terms of making sure the support staff was in place. At one point last year before his first season, he was almost hiring an assistant or two or somebody on that football support staff, it seemed like every 24 hours. He will get it done. And Florida is pointed in the right direction. It wasn't going to happen overnight. It wasn't going to happen in one season. And maybe the worst thing that could have happened was coming right out of the gates and beating Utah, because that just accelerated everybody's expectations into the stratosphere. And it just wasn't like that. That was a good matchup at a good time. Billy Napier will get it done. The Jaden Rashada stuff is a whole nother situation that I think Florida's moving past and everybody's moving past.
Yeah.
He's dotting I's and crossing T's in terms of recruiting, in my opinion, in terms of facilities, in terms of the foundation. Look what he did at Louisiana. Look at all the coaches he's learned from over the years, whether it's Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, on and on and on. He checks all the boxes. It will happen. It just may not happen in the next year, but at some point it will if Florida fans are patient. And I would encourage you to show that patience and to be patient with Billy Napier. He'll get it done.
Well, and speaking of that, with Todd Golden, obviously and you've done some of their games, I know, when they got off to a bad start, they couldn't beat anybody in the non-con. They didn't help their resume. And then they get into conference play, and now all of a sudden they've won 5 of 6, and everybody's like excited. Of course, we all know what is down the road with these next 4 games. But the thing that I like about Todd is that he has adapted from what he wanted to do with his team to what he needed to do with his team.
I love Coach Golden and got to know him a little bit when he was coaching as an assistant at San Francisco, oddly enough. Had a couple of their games in the CBI. I want to say that was maybe 2018-ish. And when I met him for the first time in non-conference play, he was like, man, I remember you calling those games, and we had a good laugh about it. He has adapted. I love what is happening with Colin Castleton. The roster was kind of flipped over when he came in around Colin Castleton. And you mentioned they're playing their best basketball of the year. They're in the conversation for the NCAA tournament. I know Florida fans and the Rowdy Reptiles expectations there. I think this team can get there. Now, coming up, you got to find a way to maybe steal one of these games. Can you do it on the road against Kansas State and everything that is going to be brought to the table there? Can you do it against Tennessee at home or at Alabama? Bama showed us this week that if you can get up and defend, that there's some opportunities there. And we'll see what that game looks like. But, boy, that would be a huge resume booster. I do want to see Florida clean up some things in some late-game situations because, as you indicated, they've won, 5 of their last 6. That one loss was a game that we had at Texas A&M. And there were some opportunities there, Pat. Sure. There were some opportunities late that you would love to see, Myron Jones maybe get a cleaner look and do some things. And so it will happen, and they're close. You got to find a way to have to boost that resume with one of these teams coming up that's ranked. And if you can do that, man, we're talking about Florida as the 6th or 7th team in, maybe from the SEC, maybe higher. if you're able to win some games down the stretch. And look, back into the schedule, at Vanderbilt, at Georgia, LSU at home, there's some wins there. Let's see if you can beat Kentucky. Let's see if you can win at Alabama or Tennessee or K-State, and that would be just enormous.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and I talked about this on our radio show yesterday. If they go 0-4 in these next 4 games, their net ranking probably won't go down because the teams are ranked so high. But if they could just get one, if one would be the minimum you want to get out of those 4, but if you could get 2, I mean, you're practically in the tournament.
Oh, if you get 2 at that point in time, you're playing with house money, and Kwesi Reeves probably went for 25 in one of those games.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
It's going to take that, against that caliber of competition. But to me, that's not impossible. That's not impossible. So look, they're knocking on the door. They need that one resume booster, I think, to get there, as both you and I indicated, and it's possible. Maybe it's Riley Kugel. Maybe somebody just gets hot from 3 and carries you. And there's going to be those kinds of upsets in the league this year on the back end of the schedule. I firmly believe that.
By the way, you said you were at home. Where do you live? I don't even know where you live. I
am near Greenville, South Carolina, upstate South Carolina.
Okay. You like it up there?
Oh, yeah. No, I've lived here. We've been here for about 15 years now, maybe 16 years. I guess time's going by quickly. But yeah, I've lived all over. I was in Atlanta, Dallas, Charlotte, and then kind of settled back here in my home state. I grew up in Columbia and went to high school there. So, yeah, it's great up here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great country up there. Let us get to of course, Roy Philpott is coming to you on our Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line. And now you're hungry for cheesesteak. I know that. But we will get to our Big Mills Cheesesteak, yes, no way, or maybe. And again, it's brought to you by Big Mills. And if you go in there and say, hey, I saw Roy Philpott on the Another Duly Noted podcast, you get free fries with your order. How about that? All right, let us get to, yes, no way, or maybe. Number 1, the SEC gets 6 teams into the big dance.
Yes, and I think it's really got a chance to be 7 because we've seen Kentucky take that next step. Texas A&M's road win at Auburn earlier this week, Pat, I think is enormous. Mm-hmm. Again, we're talking about boosting resumes. Can Florida get there? That may be the determination. But I think A&M, Auburn, Kentucky, obviously Tennessee, Alabama. I think at least 6 are going to get in. To me, the question is whether it can be 7.
Yeah, I think there's people shuddering in the SEC, or especially all over the country, that Kentucky seems to be figuring it out. But kind of last year they did that, and then they lost to St. Peter's. So you never know. I mean, but it is a fascinating thing to watch the Kentucky, how bad they can be early in the year.
It is, but they figured things out. I think with their top 5 players, the bigger backcourt. Xavier Wheeler coming off the bench. Thought we've seen him develop in the last half or so of basketball. The last game will go. In the game I had at Vanderbilt on Tuesday night, Pat, he came in. The vision was great, dropping dimes in the second half. Didn't start, but found his role and found his niche. And I like Kentucky this weekend against Kansas, too, with KU coming to Rupp. Keep an eye on that game. It's a big game for Kentucky. It's a big game for the SEC. It's a big game for the net rankings. And all those metrics that we start to talk about this time of year. Kentucky and Coach Cal, they've won 4 in a row, longest win streak of the season. I think they've figured things out and getting their best 5 on the floor in the moments where they really need them.
And I've confessed this before. I am not a Kentucky fan, but I do love Oscar Schwebe. I watch him play and I go, nobody. I've never seen. I think Barkley might be the last guy that was like him, and Barkley was about 2 inches shorter. Yeah.
Yeah, he's 6'8", and I mean, you go back to the Georgia game. What do you have? 37 and 24.
Yeah,
I mean that's like Moses Malone kinds of numbers.
Exactly.
People don't do that in the modern era of basketball. But I think Cal's challenged him, and he was the National Player of the Year unanimously last year. He didn't get off to a slow start, but you would expect him to maybe be a little bit better. The jump shots improved. That's gotten better. Now the production's getting back to what it was last year. So look out.
All right, number 2 on Yes, Nowhere, Maybe. Billy Packer passed away at 82. He had some kind of influence on your life as an announcer.
He had a way. Yes, he did. He had a way of announcing games and being critical of all aspects of the game in a way that came across, Pat, as informative, but not sugarcoating it, but not also blasting people. That is a true art in our profession. Like, as a play-by-play person, we lean on our analysts more to do that. But look, I mean, I think in this new world order that we live in, and you see roles blur sometimes, I'm put in that spot where we're watching something happen in real time. I know the game. I played the game through high school and, certainly have been around it long enough and talked to enough coaches and scouts and players to understand it. So I'm going to offer criticism and I'm going to offer my opinion at times. And I think we all could learn something from the late Billy Packer in how to do that in an instructive, critical way without going overboard, without overcooking the ham and ripping people and just trying to be the loudest voice in the room and the loudest voice on social media. So, yeah, absolutely. He impacted me. I think he's one of the few people that has, done what I just said in the manner in which he did. And there's not many people that can do it now to this day that are able to do it the way in which he did. So, yeah, he impacted all of us. And the game lost a great one, and to me, a Hall of Famer in Billy Packer. And, yeah, rest in peace. But he did so many wonderful things and was so honest in his assessments, man. That's something we can learn from, I think, in all walks of life, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people didn't like him because he told them the truth and they didn't want to hear it. They couldn't handle the truth, and he ordered a code red, yes. But, yeah, there were times when I would go, hey, you can't say that about my guy, but he was very honest. And I think I watched the ACC tournament series they did on the ACC network, and it was fascinating because I kind of grew up during the whole David Thompson and all that stuff. But when they went back and showed what a great player he was, Billy Packer, which a lot of, obviously even my generation didn't realize.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, I really did. I knew he played, and I knew, about his basketball intelligence and IQ, obviously from his days as an announcer. But yeah, that was before my time. I remember him watching him, Pat, on those old JP broadcasts, Jefferson Pilot broadcasts. Right. You'd watch that Sunday night game, and it would be, I don't know, Carolina, NC State, and he's on there, talking about it right up through the 90s and even up until the late part of the Gator of the 2000s. He was doing it, and so he was honest, and I think you got to appreciate that. But he did it in an informative and instructive way.
Yeah, I think he did 30 Final Fours, which is pretty impressive. Finally, on Yes Nowhere, maybe number 3, you have run down the hill at Clemson.
No, I've never run down the hill. I mean, I've walked down it like when I first got started in the media. Going down to cover things or to cover games or whatever. I've never run down it. I will tell you this: it is a hell of a lot steeper in person than what you see on television. And if you're running down that sucker with a full head of steam, it's going to catch you by surprise. I don't want to say it's like a Black Diamond ski slope, but it's pretty steep. And then right there, about maybe 2/3 of the way down, Pat, there's like a little ledge. And then it cuts down sharply again. So it flattens out for about, 8 to 10 feet or so. And then you go back down. So at that point, like, you get a little respite and then you kind of continue your way down there. But like the players, they'll jump off that. And I mean, and they're like 15 feet off the ground. Literally, I am stunned to this day that there hasn't been a serious injury going down it. Now, unbeknownst to many, there was a former walk-on, I think, receiver. And I remember covering this when it happened that hurt his leg. Now, he didn't play a ton, so it wasn't major news. And I don't know that it was right there on that little ledge part I just indicated. But he hurt himself, I think, coming down. It's steep. And so if you ever do it, you'll get to the top and you'll see what I'm saying. Like, oh, my God, television doesn't do this justice. So, but incredibly, nobody's been injured. I don't think you're ever going to see me run down it with a full head of steam. Just because I like my hamstring and I like my ACL, my MCL, and my Achilles too much. I don't want to tear anything going down. I'm not that old just yet, but still, I but no. What
you went to Clemson, right?
I went to Clemson and got my start in broadcasting at Clemson. Yes.
Wow. So and started in radio there and stuff. So that's good stuff. But I've been to Clemson one time, but it was so long ago. I don't think the hill was a big deal at that time.
Yeah.
There was no rock.
I think, it started maybe in the late 60s. Boy, I should know that. I don't know. Some point maybe in the late 50s, in the 60s. And then it became a kind of a bigger deal as they got a little bit better over the years. But yeah.
I'm not going to take my two artificial knees and run down that hill. I can promise you that.
You don't want to do that, Matt. You don't want any piece of that.
Hey, Roy, always great talking to you, buddy, and look forward to seeing you when you get back to Gainesville. What's the game you have Saturday?
I have Ole Miss, Oklahoma State in the last SEC Big 12 Challenge. And then I do have one more game in Gainesville. I want to say maybe it's the regular season finale against LSU. Mark Wise and I will be down there. So,
great.
We hope we see you down there then. That should be a ton of fun.
All right. We'll make sure we get there for you. Roy, thanks again for joining us. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Pat. Thanks for the invitation.
All right. Roy Philpott, ESPN, SEC Network. We appreciate him coming on. Great stuff. Really funny stuff. I hope you enjoyed it. We will take a break. And when we come back, we have a lot of things to get to. 3 things by Hester and Kipke. Adam's Ribco to go. Gator of the week. And, of course, I tell you what, the Leonardo's at Millhopper is going to be the easiest one you've ever done. You just got to get it right. We'll be right back with more on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam's Ribco to go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Ribco to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Spite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Pat Dooley's Storytime is brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of Eastlake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about Eastlake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, We're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
The games of the week and the games of the weekend every week are brought to you by the Ben Ige team at Odell Realty. Ben Ige graduated from the University of Florida in 1998. He and his team now help Gators find vacation homes in Western North Carolina that also double as investment properties. Ben and his team have helped many folks take advantage of the incredible opportunities in mountain homes that also produce amazing returns on investments. Ben Ige and his team at Odell Realty go the extra mile to find properties and evaluate their income potential for their clients. Maybe you've thought of buying a home that can be used as short-term rental via Airbnb or Vrbo, generate income for you, and be a place for your family to vacation. Or you may just be looking for a great way to expand your real estate investment portfolio. I know I am. Visit www.beneige.com/Gators. That's www.beneige.com/Gators and discover what owning your own short-term home can accomplish for you. That's Ben Ige at Odell Realty, licensed real estate broker in North Carolina and proud Gator alum. Visit www.beneige.com/Gators or call 704-201-4264.
Calling Gator Nation. You are invited to be part of Gator history on Friday, February 10th for the official dedication of Steve Spurrier Way at Celebration Point Promenade in front of Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Lots of dignitaries and press will be on hand to witness this historic event. And it's open to all who bleed orange and blue. It's the grand unveiling of Steve Spurrier Way. It's all happening Friday, February 10th from 5:30 to 6:15 at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point.
All right, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And we will have, of course, Meldon Law brings Coach Spurrier to you every Monday. We'll have him on Monday. And then we'll have Mark Wise on Friday. He may have some good Roy Philpott stories. So we appreciate Roy for joining us. It is time for us to get to three things, which are, as always, are presented by Hesser and Kipke. We appreciate Ken Hesser and Jennifer Kipke for being double sponsors here. And, of course, as you guys all know this, Hesser and Kipke, great Gainesville law firm specializing in areas of workers' compensation and family law. Ken and Jennifer take great pride in their one-to-one focus on each and every client they represent. Ken is board certified in workers' compensation law by the Florida Bar, while Jennifer possesses extensive jury trial experience with a nearly 20-year background as a prosecutor. If you don't believe me, just check out their 55-star Google reviews, or better yet, give them a call at 352-339-9920. Ken and Jennifer Hipke, Ken Hesser and Jennifer Hipke. There, you got that right. All right. Number one, this whole Rory McIlroy, Patrick Reed feud was great theater this week. Look, Patrick Reed is what he is. He's a really good golfer, and he's a real jerk. And when he went over to LIV, look, LIV is a force, and I now they're on the CW, which I don't even know where that is. I don't even know what network that is. I think that was a country western. It started out as a country western channel. I don't even know what it is. I'm not going to watch it. I have no interest in it because of people like Patrick Reed. Like, you should go get golfers that people like instead of golfers that even their family can't put up with. But they have this little feud, and McIlroy saying that, he delivered a subpoena on Christmas Eve to McIlroy and his family, and that he didn't stick well. Justin Thomas, it was 2 days before his wedding. I mean, this is the kind of guy he is. I've never been a fan, don't like him. I'm a big McIlroy fan, but it's good theater. But the trouble is, you're almost better off not having this if you're the PGA Tour. You don't want it to be, you're a jerk, you're an ass, so I'm not gonna talk to you. You would say, hey, how you doing? Nice to see you, and then turn around and and get back to work, because then that wouldn't be a story. You don't want the LIV to even have the words. LIV right now, they're going to probably do a lot of that stuff where they kind of come out and say, Hey, well, did you see this latest video of Cameron Smith not happy with Cameron Young, or whatever? But anyway, it's just kind of silly, but at least golf season's back. And to me, it's really back. For me, it's the Waste Management out of Phoenix, because I played that course and I love that course, but it is back. It's going to be back soon. Anyway, number 2 on the 3 things by Hester and Kipke, Dan Quinn, who's a good, I don't want to say friend of mine, but I text him every once in a while. He texts us back and has contributed off a lot of stuff to our golf tournament. Is going to stay with the Cowboys. He did interview for the Denver, Arizona, and Indy jobs, but has decided to stay with the Cowboys. Now, that could be that all 3 of them said, and again, there's a lot of back channels here, and it might have been they told his agent he's not in our top 3 or something like that. Or it could be that he went, you know what, I don't like any of these situations. Nobody ever really knows the whole story there. I like Dan Quinn. I think he's a really good defensive coach. Did a great job with the Falcons until halftime or the end of the third quarter. Could have won a Super Bowl. Think about that. His life would have changed there. But good guy, and has sent us many helmets during his time. So in a way, I was kind of hoping he got one of these head coaching jobs, and I go, hey, by the way, golf tournament coming up, send a helmet. But he did. Number 3, Frank Reich gets the job with the Panthers. There's a lot of issues going on there. A lot of people are upset because Steve Wilkes, of course, is an African-American coach and did a really good job almost getting them into the playoffs after Matt Rule was fired, and then felt like he should have been promoted. And I'm going to stay out of that. I don't even want to get into that. There is certainly a problem with hiring African-American coaches in the NFL. We know that. But it's not one of those things where you can go, okay, we need to have this percentage. Okay, who volunteers? I don't know what you do. I mean, you've got qualified coaches, and sometimes people don't want to hire them. Eric Bieniemy is a guy who had some problems in college, and I don't think it's that big a deal, but he's become a really good coach. Maybe he doesn't interview well. I don't know. I can't, but you can't go to every team and go, hey, you guys need to hire an African-American coach. That's the problem. You would like to see this happen where a sport dominated by one race, basically, has very few head coaches, but there are a lot of assistant coaches, and maybe we'll see a trend change. I don't know. The problem is a lot of those coaches get bad jobs, and it doesn't work out for them. And then they're kind of stymied with that. But anyway, Frank Reich, who I think is a good coach, although the way the Colts fell apart was not good. All right, that is our 3 things from Hesser and Kipke. Let us get to our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. And our Gator of the Week is Myron Jones. I didn't think I'd be saying those words. I mean, early in the season, he looked like the same old Myron Jones. Couldn't make a shot. I don't know if he'd ever make a shot. Now he comes within just a couple of rebounds and assists of a triple-double. Myron Jones. I know it was South Carolina, but I give you a lot of credit. I've been critical of you. I'm not critical of you as a person, but I've been critical of your play. You're become a better guard. You're a better rebounder. You're a better defender than you were last year. And now you're starting to make shots and you're finding guys. He's become a major reason why they've won 6 out of 7 games. And certainly to have, what do you have, 10 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, or 8 rebounds and 9 assists. That's pretty close to a triple-double. But congratulations to him. He is our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. I think Adams Ribco to Go may be in the future for tonight. Sounds good right now. I can tell you that. Maybe it's for my future for lunch. Let us get to our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks, and it's very simple, guys. And we've had several people qualify over the last couple of weeks. We'll probably pull one first week in February, a new winner. But this one's going to be very simple. Who is in the Super Bowl? So you got to pick 2 winners. It's that simple. You got to get them both. So if you say Cincinnati and San Francisco and they get in, you qualify. If you say 2 other teams, whatever you say, just don't say Cincinnati, Kansas City. That will be an X. I'll put an X through that one. But yeah, we do have a lot of qualifiers. In fact, maybe Monday we'll announce everybody who has qualified so far. So if I missed anybody, you can jump on that. Let's get to and that is by the way, our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Super Bowl winners. That's all I need. Kansas City, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, San Francisco. It's two of those teams. Let's get to our El Odell Realty Ben Ige games of the weekend. We got a lot of games to look at this weekend. We appreciate Ben Ige for being a sponsor. Basketball, the best game, I think, on Saturday in that Big 10, Big 12 SEC Challenge. The best game is Texas-Tennessee. Texas is ranked 10th. Tennessee's ranked 4th. That's the best game. That's at 6 o'clock on ESPN. But this is another example where you need the 2 TVs. So I will have 2 TVs going for these games because Florida-Kansas State is also at 6 o'clock on ESPN too. So it'll be right there. Boom, boom, boom. But I'll have both of them going. I may have something else on as well. So that's at 6 o'clock. Don't forget gymnastics tonight against Georgia. Florida should handle Georgia, but still there'll be a packed crowd there because it's Georgia and because it's Trinity Thomas and Leanne Wong and all these other unbelievable gymnasts that are out there. And Victoria Wynn, who had a great performance the other night. You still haven't told me if you're related, by the way. You're not. You just don't want to give. I'm starting to think maybe you are. Okay. All right. So that's at 6 o'clock tonight. They announce it at 5:45. They want people there for the start of it. Not for the start of the actual competition, but the start of the ceremony for it. So they always put it 15 minutes early. But if you're there by 6, you're going to be fine. And that's over, of course, at the O-Dome, Florida versus Georgia. The NFL game, San Francisco at Philadelphia, is a 3 o'clock game on Fox. I think it's going to be a great game. I can't wait to watch it. And I really don't feel like I have a major dog in the hunt. I kind of want Philly to win. Yeah, I want Ken Hester to be happy. But, and I don't. Yeah, so I kind of want Philly. I'll probably be rooting for Philly. And then Cincinnati at Kansas City. I'm definitely rooting for Kansas City there. 6:30 on CBS, and of course that game could get moved back. First game goes to overtime. They'll start it when they decide to start. This is TV's world. So there's some of our great games that are on this weekend. There's a lot more, of course, with that Big 10 or Big 12. I keep saying Big 10. Big 12 SEC Challenge. All right, this, that, and the other brought to you, as always, by the great people at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill sounds good tonight, too. One of those two, I think, is going to be it. Well, yeah, that could do that. Lunch, dinner. Yeah, that sounds good. By Ironwood Golf Course, that also sounds good. So I may do that. And by Darshakal Insurance, we appreciate John Dar Jr. and the folks over there at Darshakal Insurance as well for this, that, and the other, which we do every Friday. This is, remember last year, Florida's softball team they just didn't seem like they had much. And I remember saying, this team will never make it to the College World Series. They aren't that good. They were struggling. There's no doubt about it. They got swept by by Arkansas. They lost series to Tennessee and Alabama, and you felt like, well, you're entitled to a down year, Tim Walton, because you're such a great coach and you've done so well. What happens? They get to the postseason, they turn around. They win their regional. They win their super regional at Virginia Tech. They go all the way to the College World Series. They win a game there, and they ran into UCLA and ended up getting eliminated. But still, to win a game at the College World Series, Women's College World Series, when everybody's saying, I don't even think they'll get there. That was pretty impressive. And the other is, here they are getting ready to start a season, and they're picked to win the SEC, the toughest conference in sports. For any sport, pretty much, but especially for softball, very difficult. They are picked to be the champs. There's Tennessee's very good, Arkansas is very good, Alabama's very good. They got a tough schedule coming up, but they start February 10th. I could throw that in there as well. They play in a tournament down at USF. Cannot wait for baseball and softball season. I think both teams are going to be really good, so it'll be a lot of fun to watch. But again, it just shows how quickly you can kind of turn things around, especially when you have a great plan, a great culture. And that's what he was able to do, Tim Wolf. So a lot of props to him. All right, finally, let's finish up with Pat Dooley's story time. And I was thinking about this today. Like everybody always says, well, the happiest moment of my life, the happiest I ever was. And obviously when your children are born is the happiest moment of your life. So, but I rule those out because everybody says that. But it's true. And then when you get married, either time, you can take either one of them. But that was very happy. I'm very happy that I married Karen, and I'm married to Karen. She saves me all the time. But the happiest professional moment of my life may not be the one that you think about. And it's not even playing Augusta. I love playing Augusta, but it wasn't even that. It was the night Florida won its first basketball national championship. And they're playing in Indianapolis. And we had a great time there leading up to it. But as I'm sitting there on press row, on the front row, the players are playing like 4 feet away from me for the national championship, and Florida is going to win the game. And I literally, tears started to form in my eyes. And I'm like, you got to get it together, bro. Come on. I know how you feel, but you got to get it together. So I did. Got it together. Next thing you know, all these media guys are coming up to me and going, hey, how many dunks is that in the last? But I said, yeah, I got it down here. It's 14 dunks in the last 17 baskets. They can't stop. Well, hey, what do you know? They start talking. All these are big time national media guys. Mike Lupica's of the world. Guy who's been on Seinfeld. So that's big. And then that night after we get done writing, there was a banquet kind of deal, a party. Started at like 2:00 in the morning. And I walked in there and everybody's like, wants to sit with Pat Dooley because they want to talk about this team and how great it was. That was the happiest moment of my life. And they're all raving about this story I did about how all these players had famous fathers, but not Corey Brewer. And I wrote about Corey Brewer's dad, Pee Wee, who's not with us anymore, but it was a great story. It was a great story because Pee Wee was great and Corey was great. And everybody jumped on that story when they got to the Final Four. So that was the happiest moment of my non-having a child or getting married life. I'll take that one to the grave. That is Pat Dooley's Storytime, brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics. And I got to get out of here. There's a crowd gathering out here, so I'm not sure what's going on. Is there going to be some kind of a riot or anything? I don't know. You never know around here. But hey, this place is wonderful. I'm actually getting ready to have a meeting to plan my wife's birthday party. So how about that? We'll be back with a show on Monday. Coach Spurrier will be here. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I'm way back, and I am out of here.